dive. We're going to be exploring Noah's Ark,
Oh, yeah.
which I think is a story that most people are probably at least somewhat familiar with.
Yeah, for sure.
But we're going to be going beyond, I guess, what you might call the children's version of the story.
Right.
And looking at it with a little bit more nuance.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's so interesting about this story is it's one that's been passed down through generations.
Yeah.
And it really tackles these huge themes that are just as relevant today as they were then.
Right, like destruction
Exactly.
and renewal and humanity's place in the world.
Yeah, like all these big questions that we're still grappling with today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's set the stage a little bit. Humanity is not doing so well,
Yeah.
shall we say.
Right.
And God is deeply saddened by this and decides to basically start over
Yeah, a clean slate.
and flood the earth.
Right, literally wipe the slate clean.
Right. But there's a glimmer of hope.
Okay.
And this comes in the form of Noah,
Right.
who is chosen to build an ark,
Mm.
which will be a vessel to preserve life.
And that act of choosing Noah, I think, is really key.
Okay.
Because you have this impending devastation, but within that, there's this opportunity for a new beginning.
Yeah.
It's like grace is woven into the very fabric of this story.
Okay, yeah, so the details surrounding the ark are incredibly specific.
You really are.
God instructs Noah to take 7 pairs of clean animals,
Okay.
2 of unclean animals,
Okay.
and 7 pairs of birds.
Wow. So there are a lot of questions there.
Yeah, I mean, I always wondered about this. What made an animal clean or unclean?
Well, that's a great question, and it's something that's really deeply rooted in ancient Israelite culture.
Okay.
So these categories weren't just arbitrary. They were very much connected to ideas about food,
Uh-huh.
ritual purity, even reflecting how they viewed the world around them.
So it wasn't just about what they could eat or couldn't eat.
Right.
It was like a whole system of beliefs.
Absolutely. It was a way of categorizing and understanding the natural world.
That's fascinating. So Noah, he's given this monumental task
He is.
of gathering all these animals and building this massive ark.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, he's 600 years old.
Yeah, let that sink in for a moment.
It's just mind-boggling to me.
600 years old, and you're tasked with this enormous project.
Yeah, and I can't even fathom living for 600 years, let alone taking on a project of that scale.
Right.
So what's the deal with these ancient lifespans?
Well, you see this idea of incredibly long lifespans appearing in a lot of ancient texts, especially for these key figures.
Huh?
And it's thought to signify a number of things.
Okay.
Wisdom, authority,
Uh-huh.
a link to this distant past.
Okay, so it's like it adds another layer to how we perceive these figures.
Exactly. It elevates them to almost mythical status.
Right. So Noah gets to work,
Right.
and the story lays out this very specific timeline.
Yeah, it's very detailed.
There's a 7-day countdown to when the flood's going to start.
Uh-huh.
And we even get the exact date.
That's right.
The 2nd month, the 17th day.
And that level of detail, I think, really adds to the story.
How so?
Well, it makes it feel more real, doesn't it?
Okay, yeah.
It's not just this vague flood.
Right.
It's an event that's grounded in a specific time and place.
Yeah, it adds weight to it.
Exactly.
So the day arrives,
Right.
and the heavens open.
Yeah, talk about rain.
Yeah, it's described as fountains of the great deep broken up.
Wow.
Windows of heaven open 40 days and 40 nights of rain.
It's not just rainfall, it's this cosmic deluge.
Really.
It's like the earthly and celestial waters are converging.
It's a pretty intense image.
It really is, and it emphasizes that this is no ordinary flood.
Okay.
This is divine intervention on a scale we've never seen before.
And the description of the flood's impact is just chilling.
It's really powerful language.
Yeah, all the high hills under the whole heaven were covered.
It's total devastation.
15 cubits upward did the waters prevail.
Wow, and for those keeping track at home, a cubit is roughly 18 inches.
Wow, so it's a lot of water.
A lot of water.
And then the text says, all flesh died. Every man.
It's stark.
Every living substance was destroyed.
It really drives home the magnitude of this event.
Yeah.
The absolute eradication of life outside the ark.
So only Noah, his family, and the animals within the ark are spared.
That's right. A tiny remnant of life amidst this vast, watery wasteland.
So the ark itself is more than just a boat.
Oh, absolutely.
It's this microcosm of the world carrying the potential for a new beginning.
It's a vessel of hope amidst destruction.
Okay.
A sanctuary preserving life and its diversity.
And can you imagine the logistics of taking care of all those animals for months on end?
It must have been an incredible sight to behold.
Yeah, a floating zoo teeming with life.
Exactly, and it also highlights Noah's immense responsibility.
Yeah.
He's not just a boat builder. He's a caretaker of creation.
Wow, that's a huge burden to bear.
It is a monumental task.
But how realistic is all this? I mean, come on.
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because scholars and scientists have been trying to reconcile the ark's dimensions with the sheer number of species that we believe existed. And it's led to a whole range of interpretations and discussions.
So there's a lot more to this story than meets the eye.
Oh, definitely. These ancient texts, they have so much depth to them.
I knew there had to be.
It's like an invitation to dig deeper, to look for those hidden layers of meaning.
Yeah.
And to really grapple with their enduring relevance.
I mean, the scale and impact of this flood is just what gets to me.
It's hard to fathom.
It's not just some local event.
Yeah.
The text describes a global catastrophe.
It's a complete reset.
Yeah. And the fact that only Noah and his family survived.
It makes you think about our own vulnerability,
It really
the
did.
fragility of life, and the immense responsibility that comes with being the ones who make it through.
Yeah. I never thought about it like that before. But it's a powerful thought.
It is, and it leads perfectly into what happens next.
Okay.
The aftermath of the flood and the establishment of this new covenant between God and humanity.
This is where things get really interesting.
It is a fascinating turning point in the story.
So what happened after the waters receded?
Well,
Did they just like step off the ark and start rebuilding?
it wasn't quite that simple.
Oh.
There was a period of waiting,
Oh.
of sending out scouts to assess the situation,
Okay.
and ultimately a divine promise that would reshape the relationship between humanity and the divine.
Okay. I definitely want to hear more about the Miskaramis.
Well, think about it. After months and months aboard this ark, the world outside must have seemed both familiar and utterly alien.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, can you imagine?
It would be a whole different world.
The text describes this gradual receding of the waters.
Okay.
It lasts 150 days.
Wow. That's a long time.
And Noah very patiently sends out a raven
Okay.
and then a dove multiple times to see what's what.
A raven and a dove. That's kind of interesting, isn't it?
It is.
How those two birds carry such different connotations.
Yeah, even today.
I guess it's the dove with the olive branch that really sticks with us,
Yeah.
symbolizing peace and new beginnings.
That image is so powerful.
Yeah.
But you know, the dove returning with an olive leaf, it isn't just about peace.
Okay.
It signifies the reemergence of life itself.
Oh, that's a good point.
The land is fertile again. The cycle of growth is restarting.
Yeah.
It's this potent visual drawn from the natural world.
Yeah. I see what you mean. Okay, so Noah finally gets the signal to disembark.
Right.
What happens next?
Right.
I mean, can you imagine stepping off that ark?
I know. It's mind-blowing.
It would be like landing on a brand new planet.
It would have been a world stripped bare. Just imagine.
Yeah.
The sights, the smells, the silence.
It's crazy.
The text tells us that God blessed Noah and his sons
Okay.
and commanded them to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth.
It's a big job.
It is a powerful call to action.
Yeah, it's like a fresh start, a second chance for humanity.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
But it's not just about going back to the way things were before the flood.
Okay.
There's a crucial difference now.
What's that?
God establishes a covenant with Noah,
Okay.
a binding promise that changes everything.
That sounds pretty important.
It is. It lays a new foundation for the relationship between humanity and the divine.
So this covenant, it's more than just saying no more floods, right?
Right. It's much more than that.
What are the specifics?
Well, God pledges to never again destroy the earth by flood.
Okay.
And the sign of this pact,
The
rainbow, the symbol of hope, of
Yeah.
reconciliation that appears in the clouds themselves.
It's like a reminder.
It is an enduring reminder woven into the fabric of nature.
So every time we see a rainbow, we're witnessing this ancient promise.
Exactly. It's beautiful, isn't it?
It really is. It adds a whole other dimension to something we often take for granted.
It does. But the covenant isn't just about the rainbow.
Yeah.
It also redefines humanity's place in creation.
Ah, how so?
Well, before the flood, humans were granted dominion over the animal kingdom.
Right.
But now, after the flood, there's a shift.
A shift. What do you mean?
It's not just about humans having control over nature anymore.
So it's not just a free pass to exploit the natural world.
Exactly. There's a sense of accountability now.
Okay.
For the first time, God grants humans permission to eat meat,
Okay.
but it's not without emphasizing the sanctity of life.
Huh.
He establishes this principle of justice,
Yeah.
making it clear that taking a human life carries consequences.
So there's like a moral compass now.
You're absolutely right. It's like
And
humanity's being given a second chance, but this time there's a set of guidelines.
right, it's a whole new ethical framework.
Exactly. And this covenant made with Noah is understood to extend to all future generations.
Wow.
It's really a cornerstone for many religious and ethical traditions that followed.
I never realized just how much was packed into this story.
It's amazing, isn't it?
We started with this image of animals on a boat, and now we're talking about the very nature of humanity's relationship with God and the natural world.
It speaks to the power of these ancient narratives.
Yeah.
They hold so many layers of meaning.
It's pretty mind-blowing.
They resonate across time and cultures, and they invite us to contemplate these questions that are timeless.
Yeah, like what?
Our place in the universe.
Okay.
The consequences of our actions,
Huh.
the possibility of redemption.
Yeah.
These are all themes that we're still grappling with today.
You know, it's hard not to think about our current concerns with climate change
Right.
and rising sea levels.
Yeah.
Is there a connection, do you think, between these modern anxieties and this ancient story of Noah's flood?
It's a fascinating question. While the biblical flood is rooted in a specific religious context,
Right.
it does raise questions about humanity's impact on the environment
Uh-huh.
and the potential for catastrophic events.
Yeah.
For some, it serves as a cautionary tale,
Okay.
a reminder of the delicate balance of nature.
Yeah.
It prompts us to consider the need for a responsible stewardship.
It definitely gives you pause,
It does.
and it makes you appreciate the resilience of life,
Absolutely.
the way it finds a way, even after such profound disruption.
Think about that dove returning with the olive branch.
Yeah.
It embodies that enduring hope, that promise of renewal even after immense loss.
It's a powerful message.
It is.
Yeah.
So beyond the religious significance,
Yeah.
what can we take away from the story of Noah's Ark today?
Yeah, what resonates with you?
Well, for me, it's about the interconnectedness of all living things.
Okay.
The Ark, with all its diverse inhabitants,
Right.
it symbolizes this intricate web of life that sustains us.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that our actions have consequences,
Uh,
not just for ourselves, but for the entire ecosystem.
yeah.
It's a call to acknowledge our place within the larger tapestry of life.
It's a humbling thought.
It is, and one that feels incredibly relevant today.
Yeah, it really does. So we've only just begun to scratch the surface of this ancient narrative,
Right.
but we've already uncovered so much.
It's a story that continues to resonate, to challenge us, and to offer hope.
We've definitely gone deeper than I ever imagined.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, are there any final thoughts you want to leave our listener with?
Well, let's consider that rainbow.
Okay.
It's not just a beautiful natural phenomenon. It's a symbol of a promise made, a commitment to preserve life, to offer hope even in the darkest of times.
Yeah,
It's a powerful image for us to hold on to.
I think so too. We've explored the depths of the Noah's Ark story,
We have.
looking at its historical context, its religious significance,
Yeah.
and its enduring relevance.
Yeah, and it really is a powerful narrative. You know, what fascinates me is how the story of Noah's Ark manages to be so incredibly specific,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, it speaks to these really universal human experiences. We
Right.
get these precise dates, detailed instructions for building the ark, even categories for the animals.
Right.
But beneath all those specifics are these themes that just transcend time and place,
Yeah.
like destruction, renewal, responsibility.
I think you're right. And it's a story that, like everybody knows at least the basic story, whether they grew up with it or not.
Exactly.
It's kind of a cultural touchstone,
It is.
a way to talk about facing these impossible odds
Yeah.
and the hope of starting over.
And I think what's really remarkable is that this story,
Yeah.
which originated, in a specific culture and religion,
Right.
it's resonated far beyond those boundaries.
Yeah.
It's been reinterpreted and reimagined in art,
Mhm.
literature, even popular culture.
That's true.
It speaks to something really deep within us.
Yeah.
This primal fear of annihilation,
Uh-huh.
but also this enduring hope for survival and the chance to create a better future.
And for a story that's thousands of years old,
I know.
feels strangely relevant today.
It doesn't
When you think about things like climate change,
Right.
the threat of environmental collapse,
Yeah.
even the possibility of global pandemics.
Yeah.
In a way, we're facing some challenges that echo the ones that Noah and his generation faced.
I think you're absolutely right. It raises the question, though.
Okay.
How do we respond to these challenges?
Yeah.
Do we heed the warnings like Noah did
Uh-huh.
and take these proactive steps to try to avert potential disaster? Or do we just become complacent and risk the consequences?
Hmm.
The story, in a way, holds up this mirror to humanity
Yeah.
and asks us to really examine our choices.
I think you're right. And are we fulfilling that responsibility to be caretakers of creation,
Right?
as was bestowed upon Noah?
Yeah,
Or are we contributing to its destruction?
that's the big
It's
question.
a pretty sobering thought.
It is, but I think it even challenges us to envision
Yeah.
what kind of future we actually want to build.
Hey.
The ark, in a sense, represents a blank slate, a
Mhm.
chance to start over.
Right.
So what values will guide us?
Yeah.
What have we learned from the past?
Uh-huh.
What legacy do we want to leave for generations to come?
These are big questions.
They're big questions,
Yeah.
but they're important ones.
Yeah, they are. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the story of Noah's Ark,
Yeah.
what would you say is the most crucial takeaway for our listeners?
You know, I believe that the story of Noah's Ark isn't just an ancient tale.
Okay.
It's a call to action, an invitation to really engage in this conversation about our shared future.
Yeah.
We have this collective responsibility for this planet
Right.
and every living being that inhabits it.
Yeah. And what would you say to people who want to explore this further?
You know, don't just take our word for it.
Okay.
Explore the text for yourself.
Uh-huh.
Read different interpretations.
Right.
Talk to people who have different views.
Right.
And come to your own conclusions.
Yeah.
What does the story of Noah's Ark mean to you?
That's a good point.
How does it resonate with your own life and experiences?
Yeah, that's great advice. And it underscores, I think, something that we try to do with every deep dive,
Yeah.
to spark curiosity, to encourage deeper exploration,
Exactly.
and to remind everyone that learning is a lifelong journey.
Absolutely. So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning,
Yeah.
and keep diving deep into this fascinating world around us.
Thanks for joining us.